get back to playing football like we started out the first 4 games.
Nobody ruined the run more effectively than number 78, Bruce Smith.
We got to be selfish today.
Go get him.
We got to be selfish. When it's 3rd and long, say, I'm going to make a play. Don't depend on nobody else.
It was hard to believe that a man this large could also be so nimble.
The city of Buffalo really loved Bruce Smith because he had that kind of working class ethos that you often see in Buffalo. He was tough.
Reggie White versus Bruce Smith. The NFL crowned the wrong pass rusher. East Rutherford, New Jersey, December 7th, 2003. Bruce Smith sacks Giants quarterback Jesse Palmer for the 199th time in his career.
Jesse Palmer might as well face it. You're addicted to sacks. Career sack number 199.
Passing Reggie White's all-time record of 198, and the NFL record book rewrites itself on the spot. Cameras swarm him. History closes the book. Bruce Smith, soon to finish with 200 career sacks, the greatest pass rusher who ever played the game. Case closed. Except it isn't. Because 3 years earlier, a different defensive end walked away from football with 198 sacks. No chase, no countdown, no cameras waiting on his final number.
And there's Reggie White, and that's that hump move where he gets his right arm in and just pulls the guy in. Now watch the right arm there.
Here's what nobody in that stadium knew on December 7th, 2003. The man who used to hold that record had barely over a year left to live. Reggie White didn't know it. The fans cheering Bruce Smith's new record didn't know it. We do. And it changes everything about how you should watch the next 20 minutes. His name was Reggie White.
When I look at the best defensive player that ever played the game, I don't put myself number one. I'm looking at Reggie White as number one.
And the gap between him and Bruce Smith isn't 2 sacks. It's the entire argument this video is about to put on trial, argued by one man who's still here to defend himself and one who ran out of time before he ever got the chance. Because here's the uncomfortable math nobody wants to run out loud. Bruce Smith needed 19 NFL seasons to hit 200.
And they're again, and they sack him at the 10-yard line. Oh, baby!
Reggie White needed 15 to get within 2.
Chased out of the pocket by Clark, and now by Reggie White.
Adjust for games played, adjust for peak production, adjust for how fast each man actually got there, and the record book stops looking like a settled argument. It starts looking like a cover story. Bruce Smith owns the number. Reggie White may have owned the man. Reggie White versus Bruce Smith. The NFL crowned the wrong pass rusher. Tonight, we put the league's most sacred record on the stand, and we're not letting it walk. 2 rookies, 1 clock already running. 1985. 2 franchises hand the keys to 2 20-something defensive ends who are about to spend the next 2 decades destroying each other's argument for greatness. Neither one has any idea yet. Buffalo takes Bruce Smith first overall out of Virginia Tech.
First choice, first round belongs to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo selects defensive end Bruce Smith, Virginia Tech. There's an upset.
Philadelphia already has Reggie White, took him 4th overall in a supplemental draft the year before out of Tennessee, where he'd been an ordained minister since he was 17 years old, years before he ever sacked an NFL quarterback for real money.
Back to throw, here's Reggie White. Taylor's gonna be sacked.
Smith shows up to his rookie camp at 310 pounds. White shows up already finished. 6.5 sacks for Smith as a rookie.
And O'Brien is stopped by Bruce Smith.
13 for White in 13 games in his very first NFL season.
13 remaining in the 4th quarter. Altercation is brought down quickly by Reggie White.
On top of 2 years already spent wrecking quarterbacks in the USFL that most of the country had stopped watching. Smith's own head coach, Marv Levy, didn't sugarcoat it years later. He was overweight, self-indulgent, didn't have great practice habits, all of those things. The bust jokes were already being written in Buffalo. Nobody was writing bust jokes about Reggie White. Then something happens that changes everything for exactly one of these two men. Teammate Darryl Talley gets in Smith's face. Veteran lineman Ben Williams teaches him the single lesson that will define the next 19 years. Bruce, you've got to learn how to use your hands. If they can't grab you, they can't hold you. Smith drops 35 pounds, rebuilds his body from the ground up. By 1986, his sack total more than doubles, 6.5 to 15, and the rest of the NFL never gets the joke back.
Here comes Smith. He grabs him by the shirt and throws him down for the sack.
Blackledge under pressure. Bruce Smith wraps him up.
Reggie White never needed that conversation. He arrived already knowing how to use his hands. One future Hall of Famer needed an entire off-season and 35 fewer pounds to become dangerous. The other was already the most dangerous rookie in football by week 4 of his first season, with less than 20 years left on the clock to prove it. More sacks than games he played. Here's the number that should stop this whole debate cold. Reggie White played 121 games as a Philadelphia Eagle. In those 121 games, he recorded 124 sacks. More sacks than games played, across 8 full seasons. Not a hot streak, not a 3-year peak. 8 years of a man averaging more than a sack every single Sunday he suited up.
Williams will throw it. Nope, he won't either. It's stolen by Reggie White.
Now the detail that makes it worse for Buffalo. 1987. The season was shortened by a player's strike to 12 games. Reggie White played all 12 and recorded 21 sacks. That's 1.75 sacks per game, an NFL record pace nobody has approached since.
Rutledge comes back to throw and is hammered by Reggie White.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame itself calls it one of the finest seasons ever posted by a defensive lineman. Extend that rate across a full 16-game slate purely as illustration, and you're staring down a 28-sack pace in an era before quarterbacks were protected like presidents.
Straight 4-man rush. Got it.
Bruce Smith owns the all-time sack record. Reggie White spent nearly a decade averaging more destruction per game than the record holder ever sustained. That's not a close argument. That's a different sport. Bruce punches back, the record nobody else owns. But don't mistake Bruce Smith's case for just 200 is bigger than 198. That's the weakest version of his argument, and it's the one Buffalo fans keep leading with by accident. The real Bruce Smith statistic is this: 13 seasons with 10 or more sacks.
Back he goes. Looks, waits, hit, sack.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame calls it an NFL record. Nobody in the history of the league has strung together that many double-digit years. 11 Pro Bowls, 9 first-team All-Pro selections, 2 Associated Press Defensive Player of the Year awards in 1990 and again in 1996, 6 years apart on 2 different sides of 30 years old. That's not an accumulator padding a stat sheet with 6 sack seasons until the number got big enough to matter. That's a man who stayed at the top of his position for over a decade, playing defensive end in Buffalo's 3-4 front, absorbing double teams built specifically to slow him down, and still getting there.
Moon looking that way, and then Moon is taken down.
Bruce Smith makes this sack from the ground.
Reggie White can say nobody reached his altitude. Bruce Smith answers, "You didn't stay there as long as I did." And he has a resume to back it up. 4 straight Super Bowl appearances with the Buffalo Bills from 1990 through 1993. An NFL record on its own. 4 consecutive conference championships that no team has matched since. A 19-sack season in 1990, his career high.
Look out for Bruce Smith. That's a loose ball.
Punctuated by a safety on Giants quarterback Jeff Hostetler in Super Bowl 25 that nearly won Buffalo its first ring.
Hostetler under heat. Sacked for the safety. Bruce Smith.
Smith finished second all-time in postseason sacks. This was not a compiler. This was a closer who simply refused to stop closing. That's the first real reversal in this story. You walk in assuming Bruce Smith's argument is longevity. It's not. It's elite longevity, a very different, much harder thing to fake. And the tape backs it up. December 9th, 1990, Buffalo at Indianapolis. Bruce Smith is in the middle of what everyone who watched it still calls his finest season. 19 sacks.
Smith.
A Defensive Player of the Year trophy waiting for him at the end of it. Across from him, Jeff George, the Colts' rookie quarterback, the same draft slot the Bills had used on Smith 5 years earlier. First overall pick against first overall pick. It doesn't last 20 minutes. Smith sacks George once, then again, then a third time, then a fourth. All of it inside the first 20 minutes of the game. The only 4-sack outing of his entire 19-year career. Buffalo wins 31-7, and the final 3 quarters barely matter. The Colts built their whole offense around protecting the most valuable rookie arm in football. For 20 minutes, Bruce Smith made that plan look like it was never going to work. That's not a resume. That's a demolition, on tape, that anyone can still go watch today.
Buffalo 14 and Indianapolis nothing. Here comes Bruce Smith. Sack number 4 for Smith.
Across his career, he brought down 76 different starting quarterbacks. No one more often than the New York Jets' Ken O'Brien. This wasn't a system creation. Marv Levy, the Hall of Fame coach who watched all of it up close, put it about as plainly as a coach ever puts anything. I think he's the greatest defensive end who's ever played the game. That's Bruce Smith's argument in one sentence, from the man who watched both ends of the transformation happen in real time. The case nobody makes. Here's the sentence that should be igniting the comment section right now. Bruce Smith's 200 sacks are the least impressive part of Bruce Smith's resume. Everybody starts the argument there. They shouldn't. His stronger case isn't the raw number. It's 13 double-digit sack seasons spread across nearly 2 decades in a scheme that was built to funnel extra blockers his way.
For the game as Marino gets sacked at the 13-yard line by Bruce Smith.
Buffalo's own team history says as much. Smith dominated in the 3-4 despite constantly attracting extra attention. Meanwhile, Reggie White's stronger case isn't 198 either. It's the rate. It's a man playing at a pace that, if sustained across a full career the length of Bruce Smith's 19 seasons, doesn't lose this argument on sacks. He laps it. So here's the real question this video wants you to sit with. Would you rather have 4 extra seasons of Bruce Smith chasing double digits year after year into his late 30s, or Reggie White's superior rate of destruction for as long as either man was near his absolute best? That's not a stat comparison anymore. That's a philosophy of greatness. And it's exactly why, for 4 decades, nobody has agreed on the answer. The fall, the fight, and the price Bruce Smith paid. Because neither career was a straight line to Canton. Both men paid for their greatness, just in very different currency. Bruce Smith's cost came in 1988, barely 2 years removed from saving his career with a diet and a decision. The NFL suspended him for violating the league's substance abuse policy, his second positive test. Buffalo's leading pass rusher didn't get to explain himself on camera first. He got a locker that sat empty for the start of the season, and a city that had only just started believing in him, wondering if the old Bruce Smith, the 310-pound version, was back for good. 26 days later, he stood in front of reporters and said the only thing there was to say. I'd like to apologize to my family, my friends, as well as my teammates and the fans. He said he'd keep going to therapy. He said, something negative happened in my life, but I'm going to use it, and I'm going to prosper from it. Then he put his helmet back on and went right back to wrecking backfields like nothing had happened. Nothing had happened, and everything had happened, because 3 years later, Buffalo reached its first Super Bowl and lost. Then a second, a third, a fourth. 4 consecutive AFC championships. 4 consecutive trips to the biggest game in football. And 4 consecutive Sundays where Bruce Smith walked off that field with no ring to show for any of it. No great defender in NFL history has been that close that many times and come away with nothing. That's not a footnote in this story. That's arguably the cruelest 4-year stretch any Hall of Fame career has ever survived. By 2000, at 36 years old and coming off his lowest sack total since his rookie season,
Bledsoe tries to answer. Smith meets him at the pass.
The Bills released him outright. The same week he lost his close friend, Kansas City linebacker Derek Thomas, to complications from a car accident. Bruce Smith signed with the Washington Redskins anyway, spent 4 more seasons chasing a number that wasn't even guaranteed to matter to anyone outside a record book. And on December 21st, 2003, got there. 200 sacks. Retired after that season. First ballot Hall of Famer in 2009.
The best Buffalo Bill player ever, the best player I ever coached, my friend. He's become one of my best friends. He's like a son to me, Bruce Smith.
The clock catches up. Reggie White's price was different, and it was permanent. In 1992, White became the face of the lawsuit that broke the NFL's free agency system. A year later, football's biggest free agent signed with Green Bay, turned the Packers' defense into the league's best, and led them all the way to New Orleans. January 26, 1997, Super Bowl 31, 35 years old, in what would become the only championship he'd ever win.
Hey, we know exactly what we gotta do. All right, let's all go ball down to. Let's go out and kick some tape.
Late in the third quarter, protecting a 2-score lead, White lines up across from New England's right tackle, Max Lane, a 315-pound, 25-year-old third-year pro who had actually held his own for most of the first half. 2nd and 5. White doesn't finesse him, he doesn't spin him. He puts both hands into Lane's chest and physically moves 315 pounds of professional football player out of the way, like swinging open a door, and buries Drew Bledsoe for a loss. Next play, same result. Back-to-back sacks, 14 combined yards lost. The drive dead before it started. Lane has spent decades explaining exactly how those 2 plays happened. By his own account, the moment that sealed his fate on the sport's biggest stage. White finishes the game with 3 sacks.
Packer legacy. There's Reggie again. His 3rd sack of the day.
Tying the Super Bowl record for a single player, a mark 3 others have equaled since, but nobody has ever broken. It is the only championship ring of his career. 2 years later, he won Defensive Player of the Year again. 13 straight Pro Bowls, one of the longest streaks in NFL history.
Reggie White got him, and listen to this crowd.
Then on December 26, 2004, 4 years after his final snap, Reggie White died in his sleep at home in North Carolina. His wife Sarah was the one who called 911. He was 43 years old. The cause was a fatal cardiac arrhythmia triggered by sarcoidosis, a rare inflammatory disease that had been quietly attacking his heart and lungs for years, worsened by sleep apnea nobody caught in time. He left behind Sarah and 2 children, Jeremy and Jecolia. Brett Favre, his teammate and quarterback, said it plainly. He may have been the best player I've ever seen, and certainly was the best I've ever played with or against. Bruce Smith got to walk into Canton and watch his name go up on the wall in person in 2009, in front of cameras and family and everyone who'd ever doubted the overweight rookie from 1985. Reggie White's family had to do it for him in 2006, 2 years after he was already gone. Longtime Packers teammate Eugene Robinson said it better than any highlight reel could. It just seems so odd, so surreal. I'm still like, I don't believe it. Here's the part this rivalry almost lets you forget. These 2 men were never actually enemies. Bruce Smith has called Reggie White a very good friend. The two of them never once sat down and talked about which of them would end up owning the sack record, because they didn't need to. They understood, in Smith's own words, that it was going to be either you or me. Smith still remembers White lining up across from him some Sundays and groaning that he was getting too old for this. That's the part the stat sheet leaves out. This was never a feud. It's an argument two friends never got to finish because only one of them is still here to have it. Reggie White versus Bruce Smith. The NFL crowned the wrong pass rusher, and one of these two men never got the chance to argue his own case in person. Final verdict. This isn't a soft landing. This is a verdict. Think back to the two moments that actually decided this argument for you. Bruce Smith at his absolute peak, ending a rookie quarterback's afternoon in 20 minutes.
Ninth play of this drive, and George will take the sack at the 11. Guess who?
Reggie White at 35, physically moving a 315-pound lineman out of his way to close out the only championship he'd ever get. Different tools, same terror. Bruce Smith is the NFL's all-time sack leader, with the record for double-digit sack seasons to prove he never left the top of his game. Reggie White's Philadelphia rate, 124 sacks in 121 games, is a pace nobody has sustained over that long a stretch.
Here we go. Flush up the pocket. Reggie White in the grasp.
Not Smith, not anyone since. Longevity is the hard, admirable, unglamorous kind of greatness. Rate is the terrifying kind. The kind that makes offensive coordinators wake up in a cold sweat on a Tuesday, 4 days before they have to face it again. Reggie White versus Bruce Smith. The NFL crowned the wrong pass rusher. Watch the tape, then tell us we're wrong. Bruce Smith got 2 decades to chase that number. Reggie White never got the chance to defend his, not because he lost the argument, but because he ran out of time to keep making it. They were never enemies, just two friends chasing the same ghost, and only one of them got to see how the story ended. If this just wrecked everything you thought you knew about the greatest pass rusher in NFL history, smash that like button and subscribe to Endzone Exposed. We drag the NFL record book into court every single week. We back up every single claim, and we do not settle. Drop a comment right now. Team Smith or Team White? Tell us why. We're reading every single one. And if you think we got the verdict wrong, prove it in the replies. Bruce Smith made history chase him for 20 years. Reggie White made history irrelevant for a decade, then ran out of time to enjoy it. Endzone Exposed is where the truth always scores.